Hi there, I'm Anna Marie de la Vega. Thank you for joining us today for Focus. Our guest today is Robyn Householder, president of the Better Business Bureau of Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure.
We could have Robyn on for hours and hours and not cover all the scams and all the things that are going on these days. We're going to hit some of the biggest ones,
right,
and some that are you call the most risky.
The most risky and the most recent.
Okay, so the top 5 riskiest scams.
So unfortunately, cryptocurrency tops the list. Not only is it the riskiest scam, but it also has the largest losses. A lot of that is caused because people simply just don't understand it.
Yeah.
And so what the scammer's doing is taking advantage of your lack of information and offering you something that just sounds so amazingly too good to be true. Because there have been many, many reports over the years of crypto giving you huge returns on your investment. But we always say, before you invest, investigate. And this is one of those situations where don't assume the person that texted you, emailed you, or called you is your best source for investing advice. Typically, at least 80% of the people that get targeted for this scam do lose money. The average loss is about $5,000, which is pretty substantial. Unfortunately, once you've provided them that payment information, you might as well consider it a donation because you're never going to get it back.
Oh, wow.
And you're certainly not going to get the returns that they promised.
Wow. And so this is if someone reaches out to you.
Yes. Unfortunately, more often than not, what's happening is maybe you've done a search online. Well, with AI, those scammers know what you're looking for on the internet. Maybe it's a text that, hey, John, your friend John suggested I reach out to you. They will use information that's on your social media account to establish familiarity so that you believe that they know who you are or that they know a friend of yours. But it's always unsolicited, meaning you didn't contact them directly. They're contacting you, offering you something that you probably don't know enough about to make a wise decision.
Right.
You've heard me say time and time again, Anne Marie, that time is your ally. So taking time to research, to evaluate, to think it through, is this something that I would have invested in today had this person not called me?
Oh.
And then make a decision after that.
Okay, that's very good. Before you invest, investigate. And what about employment?
Employment scams. We really see a rise in employment scams 2 times a year. Summer, everybody's kids, college students like to make a little extra money over the summer. The other time is typically during the holidays. Of course, summer starts this week, right?
Right.
So we're seeing a big rise in employment scams. This is where you're getting job offers of positions you didn't even apply for. And so maybe you get an email that Walmart is hiring or Target is hiring or Amazon is hiring. So more likely than not, the scammer is going to use company names that you're well familiar with. Chances are they are hiring. But I don't know about too many jobs I've ever accepted that I didn't try to apply for first. Sometimes these offers come with asking for funding, meaning that to apply or to get the necessary training materials, there's going to be a fee involved. Legitimate employers never charge you money for being on their payroll. But more importantly, what they're really trying to accomplish is to get your private information. Because what happens when you fill out a job application?
You put everything.
Everything. You're giving them name, address, social security number, phone number. You're giving them references, which of course is their next targeted victim. And they'll go as far as to even set up meetings. So maybe it's a Google meetup or it's a Teams meetup. They'll make everything about it sound legitimate. The only thing is, again, you didn't apply for the job, so chances are there aren't any jobs. So what we always tell folks to do is if they do get a solicitation, get an unexpected communication about employment, go directly to that employer's website and see if that job exists. Go to Amazon's employment website, Walmart's, Macy's, you name it, and see, is that job there? And then that's where you submit your application, not through someone's email link, not through a phone call. Unfortunately, the other thing that link will often do is download malware to your phone or your smart device or your computer. Well, now they have even more private information. Before you and I went on the air, we were talking about a consumer that's lost about $130,000, and it was all because someone sent her a link and said, hey, I think this is a song you'd enjoy. She clicked on that link, and within a matter of a couple of days, there was over 600 bots on her laptop that was tracking her passwords, her keystrokes for everything she was doing.
Oh, my gosh.
And so unfortunately now that gentleman had her children's name, her husband's name, her banking account information, everything, and really groomed her for almost 3 years, through the information that he was able to access every time she typed in anything. And that's how he got so much money. So links are deadly. Stay away from clicking on links from strangers. From time to time, you hear me say it's stranger danger.
Yeah.
Stay away from those that you do not know. And for sure, employment, remember, if you didn't apply, probably no job.
One of the things that we were talking about before, a while back, but it's still happening a lot, are links from a friend.
Right.
It looks like my friend has sent me something and says, I think you're in this photo, or is this, do you remember this video or
Absolutely.
whatever? And they send you a link. And I don't know if my friends have clicked links in theirs, which I suspect they did. And now they're sending out links to me and my friends.
Or it's the game you played on social media that what you didn't realize is that that's capturing information. You know, one of those, so many of the games that are on social media specifically are asking for historical information. What was the color of your first car? Tell us about where you went for your first date. All of that data is more often than not information that you're so familiar with, you'll use it in your passwords. And then again, that's how scammers are able to access additional information. So whether they found you through your friends on social media or, to your point, your friend clicked on a link, your information is in their phone. So now they have your information too.
I think people need to know also that the games on social media, it's not just a game that you play. It's things like find out what your personality type is.
Right.
You put everything in there. Oh, I'm a Claire or whatever. And you just put all your information in there.
Absolutely. You know, unfortunately, we like to overshare on social media.
Yeah.
And so whether it's sharing that it's your birthday, which of course is always needed for passwords, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's your favorite color, your kids' names, you're on vacation, so now the scammer knows your house is empty.
Yeah.
And so, again, we just need to be better about what we're willing to put out for the universe to know about us.
Yeah.
And put parameters around that. You know, a couple of years ago, we had a young lady who was her first day of high school. And her mother was so proud that her daughter was going to high school. Her first day, took a picture. But what she didn't pay attention to is the young lady had her lanyard on that had a QR code that not only accessed that lanyard is what gave her access to the school building, but also a lot of her private information in it.
Oh, my gosh.
Right. So we don't publish pictures with lots of data. And again, QR codes, barcodes, anything like that that are on things like a lanyard, you want to stay away from putting out there. Yeah.
What does your social media look like?
Well, let's see. It was a picture of a flower I bought over the weekend. Occasionally, it's where I'm sharing stories about BBB, of course.
Yes.
And then it's, I'm very involved, as you know, in dog rescues and horse rescues. So chances are I'm sharing the latest dog and or cat that's available for someone else to adopt instead of adding to my circus at my farm.
Please take this animal.
Exactly.
I notice sometimes when I get a friend request on Facebook, for example, and I look at that page to go see who that person is, it'll be like, here's a flower, here's a sunset, here's a flower, here's a sunset, and here's a one of me, apparently, when I was in the military or when I was on a cruise ship or something like that, and it just was created like a month ago.
Well, Lorna, who is our vice president of marketing, chuckled at me when I put a new headshot up on LinkedIn because it's an AI-generated headshot. But I actually did it on purpose to start conversations with people. Because although, first off, it was a lot of fun. I was very entertained when I was creating them. It gave me 100 different options.
Wow.
I had all kinds of different colors of hair. Some of them I was heavy. Some of them I was thin. Some of them I'm not even sure who I was. I could choose different hair color, eye color. I could choose different jewelry. I do think the one I put up was probably the closest to what I really look like, but it's clear that it was either a very, very heavy touched up photo or, again, AI generated.
Wow.
But what was weird is that in 5 minutes, I had 100 different versions of me. So, unfortunately, we are living in a world where AI is a real thing.
Yep.
It's an incredible tool. It certainly has helped us internally as an organization create a lot of efficiencies, but it's also a very deceptive tool when used incorrectly. And unfortunately, scammers know that. And so in your situation, somebody reaching out to you with an old photo of you, was it really you? How would they have that photo?
True.
But what it's doing is it's establishing familiarization. You're more likely to speak to them when you think that maybe it's just my bad memory that I don't remember that person. And you've got to do your homework. You've got to take a breath. You got to take a step back and say, is that someone that I really do have a connection with? And quite frankly, is it someone I want to still have a connection with?
True.
As a matter of fact, we were in a meeting this morning at my office, and I said, you know what? It couldn't have been great because I don't remember it. Now, the bottom line is sometimes that's your gut saying, this is probably not something that was important, or maybe there's a reason I've chosen to not hold on to that information. If it wasn't meaningful and I can't remember it, that's a sign that maybe you need to take a step back from it.
Well, before you click,
just take a minute.
Anywhere.
Take a minute. Because what are the scammers doing? They're relying on fear. They're relying on familiarity. And quite frankly, they're relying on time. They're going to offer you things if you make quick decisions that otherwise wouldn't maybe be available to you.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
Legitimate businesses are not going to force you to make a quick buying decision just to get that special price.
I remember a lawn company saying, now, if you go ahead and sign the contract before the end of this month, I can give you a 20% discount. And I was thinking, you just scammed yourself out of a customer. Because if you're trying to pressure me, you can give me that 20% discount now, but not after the end of the month? Wow. I need to do it.
And again, legitimate companies do run specials and they do run sales, but are they going to use it as a high-pressure sales technique?
Right.
And the answer is probably not.
Which that was. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that. Okay, so the employment, the online purchases. Oh, we have
romance.
Yes.
Sadly, romance. Unfortunately, gone are the days where romance is only targeting seniors. I think years ago when that first became a thing, what we were the most concerned about was elderly that were home alone. But unfortunately, technology has given those scammers new ways of communicating with us. Probably the most tragic victim that we have was through a Fitbit, where she had put in her fitness goals. And of course, you're part of a community when you do that, so that other people can cheer you on when you meet those objectives. As she was meeting those fitness objectives, this gentleman, started communicating with her. And just like they will on a romance dating website, the very first thing you need to be aware of is, do they ask you to communicate off of the platform that the conversation started on?
Yeah.
And so whether that's Match.com, your Fitbit, you name it, once they start to ask you to move away from that, what they're really doing is isolating you. They're going to start having conversations with you that they can't have on that platform because they know the platform's monitored.
Oh.
Right. So legitimate dating sites, websites, or tools are going to monitor to ensure safety. Same thing with Fitbit. The second thing is they're going to isolate you, unfortunately, from friends and family. This romance is so special to just you and me. Let's not tell your kids about it yet. Let's make sure it's going to work out first, right?
Yeah.
So again, isolating you from the communication streams that protect you, and now isolating you from your friends and family, because who better to tell you you're crazy than your kids, your neighbors, your sisters, your brothers, your friends, right? So if you were to share how you've magically fallen in love very quickly without ever actually meeting this person, chances are a good friend, a good family member is going to probably reset your romance button and let you know this isn't something you probably should pursue. But that's what the scammer's going to do. They're going to do everything they can to keep you away from that. With romance scams, it's much more prevalent in younger generations now than it was previously. Again, historically, it was the elderly. Still is very prominent with elderly, but because of all of the communication devices that we also heavily rely on, and I don't know about what your friends that are younger, but I have a 30-year-old daughter who literally, of all of her sorority sisters, she's the only one who didn't meet her husband on a dating website.
Wow.
And so now the good news is they're all very happily married and some of them have kids and whatever. But think about that, how much time they spent connecting with people that they'd never physically met.
Yeah.
And so the scammer knows. Again, scammers go where they know we are. So if it's romance, they're going to be on those sites. If it's shopping online, they're going to be on the internet. So you've just got to be careful with who you're talking to.
And you mentioned shopping online. If you're just joining us, I'm Anna Marie. This is Focus, and we're talking with Robyn Householder, the president of the Better Business Bureau of Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. We're talking about risky scams. All scams, I guess, would be risky, but these can be big money and big hits to your pocketbook. On the Facebook marketplace even, because you think, well, this is local. This is somebody in Nashville. and they'll say, well, give me your phone number and I'll so I can text you, or
Right.
Here's whatever.
Any online shopping. So, we've all done it. We've all looked for a pair of shoes online, and then magically every time we open up our social media or our email, we have some special related to shoes, right?
Yes.
So again, AI gives us as a culture the opportunity to know more about each other, and scammers take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And so if you're shopping for a pair of shoes, a wedding venue, a new puppy for your kids because they're home this summer, and you've done searches online, chances are that's what you're going to end up getting targeted for. The other thing is part of it is imposters. So in other words, I'm shopping because Macy's has a great deal on a dress that I'm looking for. Well, what that scammer is going to do is create a new website that looks exactly like Macy's.
Right.
And I'm going to go there, I'm going to spend my money, and I'm never going to get the dress, or I'm going to get something very substandard. My credit card's probably going to get overcharged. And so again, we always say, similar to some of the other scams we've discussed today, is don't click on the link to shop, go directly to the site to shop, because then you know that you're in a safe space. You check the URL code. Does it say HTTPS, which means it's a secure site? Is there a lock in that URL bar on your search engine? That's telling you you're okay. You're where you need to be. As unfortunately, when you land on an imposter site, that's not the case, because unfortunately with AI, you can recreate logos very quickly.
Well, I guess so.
Yeah, or just copy and paste, right? So they're going to create sites. Now, one of the ways you want to try to avoid shopping scams online is scammers are notorious to have bad grammar. They don't really have a good handle on the English language. Chances are they're from overseas anyway doing it. And so we like to call it scammer grammar. Okay. So you're going to notice subtle variables about the way things are spelled. Maybe it's not capitalized correctly. The punctuation is off. Large corporations like an Amazon, they've got really good people that are making sure what they're publishing out there is spot on accurate, right?
Yes.
Scammers, not so much.
Yeah.
So when you see things that are spelled incorrectly, maybe the logo is just slightly off, the color isn't quite right, these are all alerts that you want to stay away from.
Wow.
But again, 30% of the people that get contacted on shopping scams fall victim.
30%.
At least 30%. And this is a scam that grows exponentially year over year. I think there's been almost an 87% increase in it from 2023, because again, where do we all spend most of our time shopping? I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't go into grocery stores very often anymore. I place my order online.
Yeah.
Occasionally, if I need to do something that's unique or I'm cooking something special, I want to go in and hand pick it. But again, I'm placing the order online.
Yep.
Sending my husband off to pick it up and or having it delivered. We're doing that for everything nowadays.
Yes.
It saves time. It saves energy.
Wow. But it also can be a big hit to your
Absolutely.
finances.
Absolutely.
Another thing would be on home improvement.
Yeah, this is the time of year that we all want to get out in our yards. This is the time that we want to make improvements to our patios, our garages, whatever. And again, scammers know that. Remember, scammers go where they know we are. And it's also where we have a lot of inclement weather. So we've had a lot of rain, we've had tornadoes, we've had wind damage, whatever. So home improvement scams, either it's going to be something through social media or advertising that may not be legitimate, or they're going and knocking on your door.
Yeah.
Now, again, honest businesses do all of those things. Now it's up to you to decide which one is really honest.
Right.
Couple things. We talked a little bit about those high pressure sales tactics. Legitimate businesses are going to give you everything in writing. They're going to give you time to think about it. They're going to make recommendations like check our references, check our BBB report, check our Google reviews. Scammers are not going to do that. They don't want you thinking about the transaction. They want you to make a very quick decision based on a low price, which usually will also mean low quality.
Yes.
Oftentimes the scammers will start the job and then never finish the job, because now you've given a substantial deposit. They don't really care about the rest of the money. They've taken you as much, for a pretty substantial sum. One of the places that we've seen a lot of activity on home improvement scams is Nextdoor. So a lot of communities use Nextdoor to communicate with each other. There is some advertising on it. I had a very prominent, well-known professional in Nashville reach out to me last summer and said, you're not going to believe what I've done. I said, you're a super smart, highly successful business person. What have you done? And he said, well, we wanted to have some patio work done around our pool, some new tiles. We saw a guy on Nextdoor.
Yep.
Who did this, and just based on the communications, felt like he was the right guy. Well, they gave him $10,000, and they haven't seen him since.
Oh no!
So again, just because of that familiarity of other people communicating in that venue, so it's not Nextdoor that's the problem. It's the style of communication that you want to be careful of. So it's the same thing with whether it's Facebook Marketplace or any other social media site.
Yeah,
you got to do your homework. You've got to do your homework.
One of the things I noticed with a home improvement issue was somebody come into the door and they said, hi, I'm so-and-so. I talked to them through the locked screen. But hi, I'm so-and-so. We just did some work for your neighbors over here. And you know me, I'm such a big mouth. I said, okay, here's the deal. I shouldn't tell you this, but we're a tight-knit community. We all know our neighbors. Which neighbor did you do it for?
Yeah. And then go check it out.
Yeah. Just Joe or was it Susie across the street? He probably would have said yes. But I just thought that is such a sneaky way to try and get in and have that familiarity.
I've been with BBB system for over 32 years, and it was the very first scam I learned about. And that was, hey, I'm in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I've got some leftover blacktop from doing your neighbor's driveway. Would you like me to do yours?
Yeah.
So for 30 years, it's worked, sadly.
Dang, that's
it's worked, sadly. Now, home improvement door-to-door folks, couple things. Do they have proper identification? Because legitimate business owners will use door-to-door marketing, but they're going to give you all the information you need for you to know that they're legitimate.
Yeah.
Are they driving a company vehicle with the appropriate company information on it, or is it just some beat-up pickup truck with out-of-town license plates?
Oh.
Okay. So why would a local home improvement contractor have license plates from, I don't know, Mississippi?
Mm-hmm.
They're not from here.
Yeah.
You don't want to do business on your home with somebody that's not from here.
Wow.
You want to be able to reach out and touch them later when things are going really well or not.
Yes.
And so, again, use your eyes, your ears, your senses to see, is this someone I really want to do business with? Again, get it in writing, get more than one quote to be sure that you have something to compare it to, right?
True.
So if they give you a great deal on a new roof, good for them. But let's make sure it really is a great deal and see what some other legitimate home improvement contractors have to say for the same thing. Mm-hmm. You said when they knock on your door. Can you imagine when they knock on mine?
What happens?
I just have a little bit of fun, with it. And I won't let my husband talk to them because he will talk to them. He's very social, but it's like, oh, precious, you made a big mistake today. Let's walk through all the things that you shouldn't be doing here today, And sometimes, by the way, it is a legitimate business who maybe just has a new young salesman that I give him some great insight on about the next time.
True.
But more often than not, it's not so much.
Yeah. They leave like head hanging down, tears going down their faces.
That or knowing that I've already called the police. So
right?
Anyway, because remember, door-to-door salesmen have to have a vendor's license. That's the other thing. So they have to have a solicitation license in the city that they're operating in.
Oh.
So that's something else you can ask them for. Can I see your solicitation license? That'll usually make them drive away pretty quickly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very good. I like that. I want to mention a lady that I met who said she was contacted by someone who convinced her he was from her bank, knew her. Mm-hmm. I think he knew like the last 4 of her account number or something like that. Got it from somewhere. Convinced her he was from her bank, and there were people trying to hack into her account and kept her on the phone all day.
So sad.
He said, no, we're going to go through this step here. We're going to get your money out of that account, get it into a safe account, something to that effect.
Right.
And here's the account. Here's what to do. And talked her through the steps of getting a new account, putting the money in there, and then she didn't realize until later that she had just been scammed out of thousands and thousands of dollars.
So unfortunate, so sad.
She was brave enough to speak about it.
Which
she
is good for her. Good for her, and hopefully that's going to help others.
Yes.
How could she have avoided this? Well, the first thing was to hang up and actually call her bank. Because again, similar to that online shopping experience, go to the source and say, I just got a phone call from one of your team. They're telling me my account's been hacked into. Can you check it? Well, what they're going to do is they're going to immediately put you in front of a fraud office, so an investigator, whomever, and they are either going to verify that there is fraud on your account, or they're going to ask you more questions about the fraud that's almost getting ready to happen on your account.
Right.
So they're going to be able to stop it. They're going to shut it down. And so, again, it was an unsolicited phone call. So that in itself is the big, big red light. Stop. Again, before you do anything, now investigate, call the source. Unfortunately, because she voluntarily gave up a lot of this information, there's probably not going to be a lot that her bank can do for her. Because, again, she was an open book with that scammer.
Yeah.
Clearly, it is against the law to steal that kind of money. But unfortunately, so many of these scammers are overseas. So the odds of her getting that money back or local law enforcement being able to do anything about it is going to be tough.
Yeah.
So, did you say she was elderly?
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of those things where we've got to do a better job of staying in touch with our parents and our grandparents and checking in with them because they're a very trusting generation. My grandmother would have talked to everybody for minimally 2 hours and maybe longer just because she enjoyed that, right? She grew up in a generation that didn't lock her door.
Yeah.
That's not the case any longer. Yeah. And they're not going to be as technologically savvy as some of the younger generations. We've got to make sure we stay in contact with them and check on them. And also we have to give them permission to call us and say, I got a call from my bank today. Can you help me with that? As their granddaughter, their daughter, their son, whomever, we've got to be open and available to help them out. One of the things that I did when my husband's mother was alone and she was now in her late 80s is I walked her into her bank, introduced her to the branch manager and said, now, from here on out, she's the only person you talk to because we want to make sure that you don't talk to anybody that you don't know. And most bank branch managers are delightful. They want to help. They enjoy having that positive customer experience. Introduce your parents and your grandparents to their banker so that they know who they are.
That's a beautiful idea. Okay, and now?
It doesn't hurt that my best friend is a banker and she made me do it. But regardless, it was great advice. I've given it many times since then, and it's helped a lot of folks out.
I've already started thinking about who I can do that for.
Yes,
and
introduce
myself.
them to their local bank manager.
And then we're about to run out of time, believe it or not.
I know.
It goes so fast.
Tariffs.
Tariff?
So unfortunately, as you've heard me say, scammers go where we are. Well, what's the hot thing in the news right now? And it is tariffs. And so what we're seeing scammers do is use tariffs as an excuse to get more money and more time with you. So you're landing on shopping sites and they're building in additional costs as it relates to tariffs, or they're asking for additional fees because there's additional tariff costs related to shipping. Maybe it's a claim issue at customs. So they're, once you hear that word, it's a big red flag that this is not a legitimate retailer. The only people that tariffs is impacting in terms of real time are the people that are importing product over from other countries, right? So it's not the end user may have a higher cost, but not because you're told to pay it up front, but because that retailer or that manufacturer is going to pass it on to you. So tariffs should never be a part of the conversation of your shopping experience.
Wow.
And so just hang up, delete the email, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
That's not one you're going to know. And unfortunately, on the delete the email, that really is the best recourse. Once you think you may have been made a victim or you have clicked on a link, end conversation, get your computer somewhere for somebody to do a scrub and see if there are bots, if there is malware. And, not enough folks, everybody thinks about virus applications on their laptops. Not enough of us think about putting it on our phones and our smart devices like iPads. You need to do that too. You need all that antivirus protection on any electronic device.
Wow.
And it's not expensive. It's like $9 a year for my phone.
Holy cow.
And it keeps it every now and then I make the mistake of clicking and going to a site, and immediately I get a warning that says this is not a site we think you should be shopping on.
Wow.
And so it's well worth that very small investment because, again, we all do it for our computers, but we don't think enough about it for our phones and our iPads.
And where can we find it?
There's a variety in your App Store, in your Google Play Store. Just search virus protection.
Okay.
And you're going to see lots of options. And so there's plenty of really great companies out there. And if you're not sure, just check on our site first to see that they're legitimate.
Okay, good. And because we're almost out of time, let's mention the site and the things that are offered.
BBB.org. So anytime you want to look up a company, whether they're local or out of the area, BBB.org, it'll do a quick search, let you know what their track record is in the marketplace. Do they meet our standards? If you think you've been scammed or you want to see if this is a scam, you can go to BBB.org/scam tracker. That's where scams are tracked all over the country. So you can see if it's happening in your area, is it a legitimate organization, or report it. If you've been scammed, we do share that information with all the appropriate federal agencies like the FTC and the FBI, that they can then use that for their investigations. And if you're not sure, just call us.
Robyn Householder, the president of the Better Business Bureau of Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. Thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Make sure you join us again next week. I'm Anna Marie, and that's Focus.